Eat that entertainment.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of BTE TV. Today we're on a Zoom call with Stephen Cooper. We've known this guy for a long time. He gave me and Ricky our first real record deal back in the day. And he just told us before we started recording that we still owe him an EP or he's going to sue us.
Listen, Stephen Cooper has done songs with, who all have you done songs with? You've done songs with Akon. What's that song called? Bigger? You got Bigger. And that song done super, super, super good.
Yeah. Tech Nine.
Tech Nine. He's been on Orange is the New Black as a cop. His songs are all over Catfish, ESPN. Stephen Cooper's done it. He's out there living, just chilling in Brazil right now, traveling the world. You're doing everything, buddy, that we wish we could do.
You guys are welcome to come. We would get crazy down here.
Yeah. How is it? Like, what are you down there for? Like, just what are you down there for right now?
I think when I was so I was fortunate to sign. I signed my first record deal when I was 19 years old, and it was really cool. But it also came with a lot of weird stuff, you know. And so I remember traveling and touring all the time, and I was doing like 270 shows a year. But I was like going to all these cool places, but I never got to experience them. You know, like I would load in, I'd have no money, so I couldn't really go do anything. And then I would load in, you know, you do an interview, you do sound check, you do the show, you pack up, and then you drive to the next place. And so I remember one time one of my friends was like, "How many times have you been to Las Vegas?" And at that time I had been there 6 times, but I had never went to a casino. I'd never gambled. I'd never done Las Vegas, you know? So now that, you know, I kind of got more established in my career, and I was like, you know what, the one thing I'm going to make a priority in my life is traveling. And even if I just go to places to live and just experience them, like I'm kind of a nomad at this point. So Brazil is one of my favorite countries, and I just kind of come here every now and then, like once a year, and just stay here.
Do you document? So, are you documenting some of your traveling?
Yeah. Some of it. So I started a YouTube channel called Moving and Groove and Travel, and you know, I'm getting better at documenting those. At first, it was just for me to just kind of see my adventures, you know, but now I'm kind of turning it into more of a channel. But yeah, I try to film as much as I can.
Is it just you, or do you have somebody?
Sometimes. Yeah, so sometimes I've met friends down here, like me and 2 of my closest friends. We went to Curitiba, Brazil, and had an amazing time there. And, you know, I've made friends all around the world. So like I have friends in Lima, Peru that I'll visit once a year. And, you know, so it's fun. The nomad life.
Yeah, I guarantee that's nice. So what are you doing down there right now? Are you any like plans on working? Are you working or no? Just chilling?
Yeah, I'm always working. So it's a lot of what I do. So a lot of people don't know this. So I actually own 2 labels. So I own Midwest Made, which is my rap and hip hop label. And that used to be under Bigger Entertainment, which is my second label. Bigger Entertainment's the first one I started, but over time, it kind of turned into more background music licensing. So background music for restaurants and hotels and gyms and movies and all kinds of stuff. And so that's why I branched off and started Midwest Made, my second label. And that's my rap and hip hop and R&B, right? So whenever I'm not recording and working on the rap and hip hop stuff, then I'm usually managing the catalog for Bigger Entertainment and licensing stuff. And that I can do all from my computer. So I can be here in Brazil and, you know, be pitching and licensing and things like that.
How many artists you got on your new label?
Oh man, right now I think we're around 10 like full-time, like solid artists on the roster, and we're going to add a few more. But this one I wanted to keep rather small in the beginning. I wanted to really pour into these artists and make sure we like established a really good foundation, because I think nowadays like a lot of labels come out too quickly, and just, you know, when you have 30, 40 rappers you're trying to manage at once, it's just no one's getting the proper attention. Usually you have one main one, and then everyone else is just kind of under them. And I don't want my label to be like that. I don't want it to be Stephen Cooper and then all these other guys. I want to like take a step back and really pour into them. So
everyone on your label, are they all from the Kansas area, or is there anybody that's like from not there?
The only one that's he's affiliated with the Midwest pretty heavily, but he actually lives in Virginia, is Emmerich. He's one of our like breakout artist on our label. But everyone else is from Midwest states. And so the Midwest states are always known as the flyover states in the music industry. They're kind of known as, I think the industry wishes they could pull more from Midwest states, but the infrastructure is not there. You don't really have really, really top-notch, organization as far as music business. And so that's something that needs to be built in order to really establish it in the music industry. But there's talent everywhere. And so what I wanted to do is begin that process. I wanted my label to be, we're going to pull solely from Midwest states, Midwest-based artists as much as we can, and we're going to try to build the infrastructure as best we can there, Yeah.
Is there anybody on your label right now that you see the most potential in, that you feel like you're trying to put the most, I'm talking about, like, the most, like, push into?
Yeah, for sure. I think the two that I'm really, really focused on right now are Emmerich. Emmerich's a really, really solid rapper, and he's actually starting to blow up quite a bit. He's doing some good things. And then AG, he goes by Artistic Genius. And me and him just had a song we released called Back in the Day. And he's a solid rapper. He's my, I always say he's my biggie. Yeah. I'm the puppy. He's my biggie.
So I wanted to get into, I know you talked about you started at 19 out there, but I want to kind of get into your music origins, like you being, where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. Warrensburg, Missouri is actually the town that I was raised in, and then went to Kansas City to start doing music. And so my mom actually dated one of the best friends of Tech Nine way back in the day. And that's what got me plugged in with him. And he wasn't who he is now back then. He was just starting. He had been doing it for a while, but he wasn't famous. He kind of had his local buzz going on. And so, but to me, he was a superstar, and I remember Napster back in the day had just come out, and I had downloaded all like Midwest, Kansas City based stuff, and discovered Tech Nine and loved it, fell in love with it. Didn't know that my mom was dating one of his friends. Didn't know that we were affiliated with him until one time I had a pretty crazy childhood. So my mom was a big partier, and she needed a DD, and I had just got my permit. And so I went to the party with them and met Tech Nine, and then he realized I was a huge fan, but I never knew what he looked like. I just had all his CDs on Napster, there was no cover art or anything. So anyway, it was kind of a funny thing, and he got a kick out of that because he didn't know what Napster was. He like just was learning, and then here I am with every single song he's ever made, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" But anyway, so that started a friendship, and then I was just around it so much. My mom was always partying with them, and I was always around the studios and around the shows, and so I eventually secretly made a demo. And one day showed it to Tech, asked if he would listen to it. He's the first person I showed it to. My demo was called "Do You Want to Battle," which was super cheesy, really, really horrible song.
What year was this?
This was 2002,
okay.
A long time ago.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I'm 6 years old.
That makes sense why you.
Yeah, yeah, this was forever ago. But it was funny because me and Tech, we were sitting in the car, and I remember this so clearly. Like, I'm playing it, and the whole time he's just bobbing his head, he's jamming. And so I'm thinking, like, man, he's loving it. He's loving this, right? He listens all the way through the song, doesn't say a word, is just jamming. Gets to the very end of the song, he turns to me and he's like, "Don't show this shit to anyone." And then he gave me, which I thought was really, really good advice, actually advice that stuck with me forever. He's like, "You have potential. Like, I can tell." But he's like, just like with anything else, he's like, "You got to practice." He's like, you want to skateboard for a living? He's like, you don't just go out there and say, "Hey, come to my skateboarding event," and crash in front of everyone. He's like, you put in the work, you practice. And so from that day forward, he started bringing me into the studio sessions. He started connecting me with producers, and that's kind of where I got my start.
So did you have any, like, aside from all the Midwest people, like, did you have any like artists that you were real into when you were coming into it?
Yeah, way back in the day, I mean, I was big fans of Kansas City music, but then also, I mean, guys like Jay-Z growing up, where he was one of my all-time favorites, Tupac, of course. I think Big L was a huge influence for me. I just loved the lyricism. Him, and I would say Nas was probably my biggest influence growing up. I fell in love with the lyrical side of hip hop. That's what originally sucked me in. And then I started getting more into the vibes and the overall dynamics of hip hop. But lyrics always have a place. So guys like Big L, Talib Kweli, Jay-Z, the guys that were doing really lyrical stuff back in the day that was my shit.
That was my people too. So
Yeah.
so how did you really like break into music?
Well, so I made my first album with one of Tech Nine's producers, a guy named Cuckoo Bird, and one of the songs on there was with Tech, and that kind of got me a little bit of buzz around Kansas City because he was starting to blow up, and but then I kind of took a detour. So I was raised in a super crazy environment, and by the time I was like 19, I think I had just seen too much too fast, like really crazy shit. And I decided to go the complete opposite direction, and I went like religious overnight. I like joined a church and, did the religious thing for like the next 10 years of my life. But they found out I started going to this church. They found out that I did music. They asked me to write like my first, positive inspirational song, which I did, and I performed it. And then there was this like Christian competition going on that I sent my tape to, and I ended up competing in this competition and winning it. And it came with a record deal with Sony, and it was on TV. It was basically like a Christian spinoff of American Idol, right? And so I win this first season of this show, and all of a sudden I signed with Sony under their Christian division, and they thought, they were like, this is our Christian Eminem, right? And so they immediately started putting me on tour and putting me everywhere they could put me, because they wanted to have their like alternative to Eminem. And that's what really got me started. And eventually, once I kind of came into my own and, learned who I was as a person, I was like, this isn't the world for me. But it was definitely the foundation.
How hard was it though to go from like trying to fit into their Christian Eminem to then like having the balls to be like, I'm gonna not do this anymore? I'm sure people were disappointed. People had like this goal of.
It was super hard. Honestly, I mean, I feel like I've lived two completely different lives, because I had to start over completely. Like leaving the Christian world. I know people don't like to talk like this, but I like to be just as vocal now as I was back then when I was vocal about religion. I like to be vocal about why I left religion, and everything was controlling. Like I didn't feel like I could ever find who I truly was, and especially being in a Christian spotlight, it was just a horrible, horrible experience. So when I left, I knew it meant giving up all my friends. I went through a divorce. I gave up, my wife. My career overnight was done, finished. For the next year or two, I received letters almost every day from people writing me, saying I was a sellout, saying, I changed for money, which is funny to me because I actually was making, at least back then, I was making way more in churches than playing bars. You play a bar for what, a $5 cover. You play a mega church and they give you, 10 grand, and they take up donations for you and they buy all your CDs, and it's crazy, So yeah, I needed to do it for myself. I needed to be true to who I was, But yeah, it was very, very difficult. I basically had to start over my whole life.
Are you happier now, how your career has turned out than you was then?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it shows in the music too. It's much more authentic, and me being who I am. I think all of us, I think what I love about not just music, but any art, right, is when it's a true reflection of who somebody is, you feel it. It can be a painting, but for some reason you feel like what the artist was projecting, And I don't think that started happening until I left the church. Songs like Born to Do and Bigger and those type of songs, like people felt who I was, and none of the songs I wrote before had that.
Now, what is your most viewed song? Is it Born to Do?
Born to Do is the biggest. Born to Do is the one that's done the furthest, which is funny. It's actually biggest in China right now, and it's kind of nuts. So Born to Do is done like, well, let's just say Spotify. It's done like 4 or 5 million on Spotify. I think collectively it's done like 10 to 12 million across all stores. But in China alone, just last month or last quarter, sorry, just last quarter, it did 140 million streams
Oh, crazy.
So
in
you're
China
getting
in
paid.
3 months. Well, their royalties are, they're very slim, but it's out there. It's really cool to see how famous it's become there. But it makes more money here than it does there, which is kind of sad.
Now, do you own all your royalties and stuff? Like you get 100% of
Yeah.
everything?
Yep, I own all my own masters. Every single song. I had a couple songs back in the day that I didn't, but I ended up buying them back and taking full control of my catalog. And then I actually own with Bigger Entertainment with all of our background stuff. This is what's kind of different about my journey, and the reason why I started like a licensing label, is when how it is when you're writing rap, you're buying beats, producers are sending you beats, they're like, here, have this, here's a guitar idea, here's a piano idea, here's this, here's that. Well, I started collecting all that and I had so much material that was just left over. I was like, what do I do with it? Right. So I started putting it out. As just background music. And so I would buy the beat, and even if I didn't put vocals on it, I'd be like, I'm going to release it. It's mine now. I'm going to put it out. And so I actually own around 10,000 songs now. About 9,200, 9,300 are background stuff.
And you get paid off all that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I mean, things like Asian lo-fi, you can go to like Chinese restaurants or sushi restaurants, and sometimes you'll hear my music on their overhead radio.
I remember back when we signed with you, the licensing thing. I don't think that's something that just your everyday person who just loves to rap thinks about. Like I
Right.
remember talking to us about licensing, and I almost feel like it kind of ruined it for us in a way, for me anyway, because I was like, it made me think about it differently. I didn't.
Right.
Like, I feel like what happened with us and you on Unlabeled was it just got to the point where I was like, I felt so much pressure to do something so much bigger than what we had done. So at that point, so licensing though, I feel like that's something that a lot of artists could really learn a lot from, because you could just
Right.
do a little jingle for Burger King and make $1 million. You know what I mean? Maybe more. I don't know about now, but like stuff like that, I feel like that's not something that most just your everyday people that just like to write music and rap it. I don't feel like they think about that. And that's why
Right.
I always think about, when I think about you, I think about licensing.
Yeah, I was super young whenever you gave us that EP deal. I was super young. Shit, what was I, like 17,
Probably,
18? Yeah, I was young. And yeah.
But speaking of that, Unlabeled, what happened with, like, what's going on with Unlabeled? It's done. Was it like a partnership and it kind of went south, or?
Yeah, it was a partnership that went south for sure. I mean, I really loved my time at Unlabeled as far as like with the artists and stuff. I think we were building, looking back, I think it was more of like an incubator, right? It was like a collective where artists were all just pouring resources together. So it was less of a label and it was more of that. But it was fun. We were all coming together. We were all pouring into each other. We were all building a local scene for Kansas City, which really has been known for a long time as kind of a dog eat dog, crabs in a bucket type rap scene, and then we were the opposite. We had on Sunday classes, I would do free classes every Sunday about the music business. And we'd have like 80 artists show up from all different hoods, they would set aside all their differences and be like, we're going to come here and learn. It was a really amazing experience. But me and my partner definitely did not see eye to eye at all on what we were building. And I think it showed once I left, because they turned it into just studios. Basically, it's just paid recording now. But I've always wanted to be a part of the artist's careers and really pour into the artist. So that's what Unlabeled was about. But I just felt like, to protect my catalog, to protect whatever reputation was left of me, to protect my licensing deals, all that stuff, I needed to just sell my portion and get out.
So with Unlabeled Records, it's not a record label no more?
No. Yeah, it's just studios.
So what happened? Because you had you guys had some decent sized names on there. You guys had like Afro Man on the label.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, that's where me and my partner didn't see eye to eye, but at the same time, I mean, not to shade him too much, but he didn't know the music business, like I did. I was the music business side. He was a salesman. He had never worked in the music business. He he was great at talking to clients and doing sales pitches and things like that. But as far as being a record label executive, it was just not, that was my part, right? So I think our differences came from, he knew they could make a little money on recording time, whereas I was like, no, give that shit away for free and let's just build a catalog of music. Let's do a label. And I think we just didn't see eye to eye long enough that I finally was like, I just need to get out and go do it myself. And that's when I started Bigger Entertainment, was literally the day I left.
So when you started Bigger Entertainment, did any of those artists from Unlabeled go there?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't sign. So with Bigger Entertainment and even with Midwest Made, I decided not to sign as far as like trap artist in a contract. I decided I was done with that, right? I decided that I would just sign projects, one project at a time, EP, a single, whatever it was. And then that way the artist, if I did a horrible job, they were always free to leave. We just kept our deal on those masters, but then they could go do whatever they wanted, right? And that's worked out really, really well for me. It's different than the way the rest of the industry functions, but I love it. And every artist I have on Midwest Made is the same.
I feel like that's what you did for us on Unlabeled. Like you gave us this EP deal. That's all y'all got to do, blah, 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 whatever. So yeah, I feel like that's
Unlabeled is definitely where it started. That's where, that idea was beginning.
Now, shit, man, could you imagine if we were still rappers, bro? That would fucking suck. That's something I didn't even like doing, bro. I just was like, something in my head whenever I was young. I was like, man, I just want to make it at something.
I loved it.
I hated making music.
It was my biggest passion in the world, and I don't even listen to music no more. I don't like.
You guys should just do it.
Nah,
right, I can't.
We're doing good with the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can do multiple things. Maybe we'll just get you on a feature. We'll get you featured on something.
Nah,
I got a feature for you.
Like, no way.
I mean, I don't know. Next time you go on tour, let us know, bro. And we'll just follow you around. We'll fucking bring our camera guy and we'll just interview you. We'll do all.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
If you're ever in Ohio, bro, we should like link up and fucking do something cool.
Yeah, I want to work with Ohio a lot more. I really want to connect with you guys on that because I mean, my whole thing is really, really promoting the Midwest states, and Ohio's one of them, so I think finding talent there, setting shows up, like really, really going all in on the Midwest states. So.
Yeah, see, I hit you up with and I sent you all kinds of artists. I sent you Alex Brown,
yep.
Alphabetic, Lowe's, who else? Clint
Askew.
I sent you Jared.
Yep.
I sent you all kinds of motherfuckers, dude. So what's up? You working with any of those people or not?
Yeah, I actually just put Clint, I think, is Raw World Revival, right?
He just sold me this beer today, and I was told him, I was like, hey, you remember Stephen Cooper? He's like, yeah, I just was talking to him.
Yeah.
About this Midwest thing. He was like, but I ain't heard from him. I was like, I'll tell him, hit you up. So,
yeah. Well, so we haven't done our Ohio compilation yet. That's what I was connecting all those guys for. And as soon as that's like ready to start compiling together, then I'll be using all those songs. But yeah, there's a bunch of guys that were super, super solid. So
a lot of artists here. Clint's a fucking legend around here.
Yeah, Clint's been doing it since before I was born, probably. But yeah, like all those motherfuckers I sent you, those the good ones, that I could think of off rip. But
yeah.
So let's talk about success a little bit. Do you feel like you were successful when you were at Unlabeled, or like I feel like once you got to Bigger, I started seeing posts from you that was like, oh, Stephen Cooper got rich somehow. Like you seemed richer once you got there. Like I remember Unlabeled, you was just like a guy. You know what I mean? Hold on real quick. You get to just live your life, travel the world off of music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That right there is
that's success.
Yeah, you made it.
That's all I ever wanted, honestly. Honestly, that's as far as my expectations were when I started. I was like, if I can just do this for a living, I love it, But it's definitely went beyond what I thought, you know.
Yeah, so you just get to travel the world all off music, dude. I mean, yeah, you made it. You've you've accomplished a lot of shit. Like I said, your music's been on ESPN, Catfished. You've been on Orange Is the New Black. Motherfucking, you got songs with huge ass artists. Who name? What's all the big artists you've done features with? You've worked with.
Well, Akon, Tech Nine, Chris Calico. I did some tours with a bunch of different guys. So like I did some festivals with Kid Rock way back in the day. I toured with Bubba Sparks for a bit. Lots of different people. I did a song with Tamba Ali, which is was our linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that ended up in like Sports Illustrated and all kinds of places there.
You ever work with DMX?
No, DMX was one of my all-time favorites, but my manager used to work with. So my manager used to manage Naughty by Nature. She managed with Ludacris for a bit. And a lot of those guys are also actors. Like Tretch has been acting just as long as he's been doing music. And so the acting agent that represents Tretch, Ludacris, CeeLo, a couple other people, also represented DMX. So I remember being in New York one time for a meeting with the agent, and DMX was on the phone, and they were like cursing each other out and going to town on each other.
So talk about the business a little bit. Like, what is the business like of this? Because I mean, obviously we never got to see it. Like, what's it like? Like, is it really what like the conspiracy theorists say? Like, are y'all really out here doing wild shit, killing each other or killing babies and drinking their blood? I'm joking. I know that's not,
No, I mean,
how far have you seen into the business side of it?
well, I think there's multiple layers to the business, you know, and they're all different. You kind of pick your lane, you know. So like you definitely have, and I've only seen this through the lens of other artists, right? But you definitely have your street rap that makes it famous, and then you have a whole side of the business that's still very it's almost run like the mob, you know what I mean? You got people trying to steal each other's masters, you got all kinds of bad deals and scammers and all kinds of crazy shit. And then they know the money that's there, so you're famous and you get targeted, and you know they're following you, all kinds of crazy stuff. I actually, my favorite part about where my career has ended up is I like that my songs are famous. I'm not famous. I like that my face is not famous at all, right? I like that I can come to Brazil, go to a restaurant, you know, meet a girl, whatever, you know, take a walk, and I never have to worry about any drama, you know. But I have friends in the business who have taken the other routes. And real quick, I think that's because since I took the licensing route, like you were talking about, licensing is what made me successful. Licensing is what put money in my pocket. Especially, it really hit me how fortunate I was to choose that path when the pandemic hit, because when shows stopped, when recording studios were closed, when everyone basically was out of business, I was still licensing music. Everyone was at home watching TV.
You probably make
You
more
know?
at that point because everybody's at home.
Yep, and every brand wanted to change their commercials, and they wanted new COVID marketing and whatnot, and they needed background music. They needed beats, and they needed all kinds of stuff, you know.
Now look back to what you just said. You said the music's famous, but you're not famous. I consider you someone that is famous because with all the stuff you've done and accomplished, like, I mean, yeah, you ain't like a mega star. You understand what I'm saying? But you still,
Yeah,
you've done shit that most normal people don't do. You know what I mean? You've got to play.
yeah,
You're a super successful person. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I feel like you don't look at yourself and you don't think that you're like a famous person.
No, I mean, even in my home city, even in Kansas City, I mean, I can go to a bar and maybe get approached by one or two people, maybe, you know, but I never have to worry. Like, you know, when I used to go out with Tech Nine and stuff, he'd wear bandanas around his face and ski masks. And, you know, he was constantly covering himself up and couldn't even walk through the mall without it taking 3 hours, you know, to just go buy shoes, and, you know, all kinds of drama too. I remember one time he came out to a show, and just while he was in the show, he only stayed for like 45 minutes. But while he was in there, someone found out what car he came in, followed his car home, and then started stealing his mail for like the next week.
Wow, like that's the kind of fame that But like when being famous sucks. It's like I think being
Yeah,
like walk around and nobody knows who the fuck you are famous. But I mean, that's not even famous. I'm talking about just being successful off of like
right.
money. But you ain't got to deal with everybody knowing who you are. Everybody seeing you and wanting a signature, autograph, and wanting a
Right.
picture and all that kind of shit.
That's what I want. I want that.
That shit would get old so
I
quick.
feel like that'd be so fun.
That shit would get old.
I'd be out there.
I mean, I think parts of it can be, I think parts of it can be fun. If I ever, if I were to ever get famous, like with my face and whatnot, I would embrace it, and I'd do my best to find the fun in it. But I gotta say, I don't know. I just never thought like, I mean, I remember I was in Italy and the the bar we were at, all of a sudden they're just playing stuff on Spotify, and all of a sudden Bigger came on. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like in a small town in Italy, like in the middle of nowhere. And I run up there and I'm like, let me see your, I'm using the translator, like let me see your Spotify. And I was like, that's me. And they couldn't believe it. And just stuff like that, where like they had no clue,
That would feel really
you know.
cool. That would feel really
Yeah.
cool. I
So it's
remember,
like the songs are out there, and I love that. I hear them every now and then and whatnot. They're out there, but it's like getting the reward of it, but then not having to deal with a lot of the drama.
So what was the feeling like the first time? Like, you got to. Now I don't know how it works. Did they reach out to you to use your songs, or did you reach out to them for them to check out your songs? It was like, yeah, we like it. And they start using like ESPN and all that shit.
Yeah, this is actually what I try to teach artists, because it's all, talent is one thing, but I'm a firm believer, like 80% of the music business is music business, right? It's like there's many people making great songs that will never be heard, sadly. You have to be about your business. And for me, me and my manager shopped Born to Do for like a year or two, like over and over, we would contact licensing companies. We would say ESPN, we'd be like, hey, would you hear this song? Would you hear this song? And they would always say, they'd always be like, oh yeah, send it to our demo email, send it to this, send it to that. We'd never hear anything, nothing. And I started taking out, I knew that song was a sports anthem, right? And so I started taking out Google keyword placements, like SEO marketing, right? I used to buy keywords that were like, basketball pump up music, or rap songs for football, rap songs for baseball, whatever. Any keyword I could think of, I would pay the bid to. When people search those keywords, they would find my song, right? And so it started getting on all these sports playlists. It started getting some numbers going. And then one day I get a call from the MLB network, because that one of their licensing people was searching one of those keywords on YouTube, found my song, and was like, this would work great for a commercial, right? So they call me. It was a very low payment, but it was my first licensing placement. So I was like, yes, let's do it, right? Me and my manager, because we really focus on the business side, we knew all we needed was one, right? So the second that aired, we took that video, we called every licensing company back. We called ESPN. We were like, hey, MLB just bought one of our songs. Do you want to take a listen now? And of course they were like, yeah, how about you send it to this other email? How about you send it to this other place? And then that's when the ball started rolling.
that's dope.
What was that feeling like? How'd you feel after that?
I mean, I think that is, what every artist dreams of, just because, like, to me, licensing is kind of the perfect storm. Every artist dreams of being heard. It gets you heard. Every artist dreams of fans. It gets you new fans. They dream of seeing their song visually matched with something. It gets you that. So it's like it money, right? It gets you money. It gets you all the things that you're after, that a lot of artists think the only way to get that is through shows, right? But I can sit on my couch and one licensing placement do more than if I toured all year.
That's what I was talking about with licensing and you. I was like, I never even really, I was just like a regular guy from nowhere, just trying to get a song to pop. But when you talk, it made so much, well, it didn't make sense to me, but once I learned about it, I was like, that's interesting. That's really, I feel like that's a crazy path you took. And like you were talking about, like with COVID, you got to still make music during COVID. Other rappers would have, or other artists in general are trying to do shows and get paid that way. And it's like, well, you can't now. And
Yeah.
so that's something I feel like any artists that are listening to this definitely look into licensing and hit up Stephen Cooper. He might be able to help you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, well, real quick, I mean, I think with any artist, like any artist watching this, I mean, I think it's all about analyzing who you are and what lane you want to take, right? Like we all try to do everything, and that's not the right approach. Like some people, the tour route is like for Tech Nine, touring was his bread and butter. That is what got him famous. People liked the novelty of, this clown looking rapper showing up in their city. And, back in the day, it was definitely a novelty in the beginning, right? That turned into an amazing career. Same with licensing. Like it may start with kind of, now luckily I like the songs that got placed, but sometimes it starts with like the band or the rap group that got the McDonald's ba da 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 song, right? Like it started with kind of a cheesy jingle that
Well, I think that's
then
the thing.
led to an amazing career.
I think that's the thing. A lot of people can't make music that can be licensed for anything at all. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it can be licensed. Even like I would hate that. Like for me, like anything I was doing, I don't want to make music that could be licensed. And
But nowadays that's changing, and that's a really good conversation I think that needs to start happening, because nowadays licensing, it used to be licensing was just broadcast, right? TV, movies, things like that. But now with TikTok, with, all these video services, people are licensing. I mean, you're getting paid for your song being in the background of, ridiculous TikTok videos and things like that. That's still licensing,
a song that traditionally couldn't have been licensed before.
Right.
Like that was so taboo. You know what I mean?
Right.
License, you couldn't have
So
done
if you find your lane, you can make whatever style of music is true to who you are, right? Without sacrificing it at all. And then you just identify like, okay, visually, what mood, and that's something too that I think that people need to really start having conversations about, is the way people consume music has changed, right? It used to be popularity, the radio, things like that. It would kind of feed you and tell you like, this is what and with that, your look, right, your image, all these things had to be perfect. They all had to match up. Nowadays, 90% of people discover stuff through background music on videos and playlists. Both of those cases, you half the time you don't know what the artist looks like. You don't care what age they are. You don't care what their name is, right? You just like the mood that they're bringing to either the video or the playlist that you're listening to. So the way people are consuming has changed so much that now age doesn't matter. Your image is important, but it really doesn't matter as far as licensing, like getting music out there. You just have to identify, this is my sound and this is what moods I match up with, right? So like for me, if I'm making a song and I'm like, this fits the sports market, this is a sports mood, this is an anthem, this is whatever. Or if I'm like, this song is more of your laid back, chill in the club, whatever. Like you have to just identify it to a T and then market solely to that until it breaks,
Well, you just said something that is actually one of the topics that I wanted to talk to you about. Traditionally, rap music has been black up. I mean, obviously, we've got 20 years of white guys being able to come in and dominate. Has race ever played any part in music for you or any of your artists that you can think of that it was either a positive or a negative?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's funny for me because it's less race and it's more like I've had to embrace this, but I'm a corny dude. That's who I am, like I don't try to be anything I'm not. I like my look, I like my jokes, I like who I am. And so that though has gone completely against, the music I make. And so I think I've got a lot of slack for just not fitting any type of image of a rapper. You know what I mean? And so it's been less about the color of my skin and more that I've got flack for.
Because I remember when you came here and did that show with us at Dickens, and I feel like I I might be wrong, but I feel like you was wearing like khakis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sweater, and like
Got my white button up, my khakis.
like,
Yeah.
but you was doing it, like you're a great performer. You make good music. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was like watching you do that at that point in my life seemed really weird. Of course, that's been like what, like 8, 9, 10 years ago, something. But
Yeah.
watching you do that was weird for me then, whereas now, because I have a different opinion, it's like that's really cool, I think. But
Yeah.
it's weird. And I always wondered if like race ever was like an obstacle.
Why'd you think it was weird? Just because he was a white guy with
Yeah, like
a nerdy look?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
I
Like,
mean, that's the thing is, I think more and more as we get further into hip hop, Dr. Dre, when he was given the speech about Eminem for his Hall of Fame, uh, he said that Eminem naturally just challenged all of his biases, right? Dr. Dre, being a legend, was like, this doesn't make sense to me, like this, it does, but it's challenging everything I know about what is good hip hop, and that's part of why he knew he would be huge. And I think it's good. I mean, I think that there's so many out there that have really unique looks and personalities and whatever, that people, the more we try to box hip hop into like this is hip hop, I think that's the wrong approach.
Yeah, see, yeah. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. Like you don't, if you would like me personally, if I would see you, I would think like you would like be like a computer tech or something. You know what I mean?
yeah, you
Right, exactly.
you know what I mean? Like,
So that's probably another reason why whenever you're out too, like you don't have like that flashy rapper look. So that's probably why
Yeah.
you don't notice as much also, because you would think someone that has as much successful music as you do, you would be like out there with chains, probably grill in like
Yeah.
I don't like what's that? Bill Gates fucking $100 polo one right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I mean, shit. As long, I mean, are you though? So fuck it, right?
Man, if there's one thing that hip hop I think tries to teach us all, and the part that we've all fallen in love with, is that it's an outlet to be who you are, and I think that it's sad that some people try to stop people from being who they are,
Because of that box. You know what I mean? That box
Right.
exists in every aspect of life. And if you can step outside of it, I think people like it more. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
people probably would like you more. Like, even if you were facially famous, I think people are like, yeah, that's dope that this dude that doesn't look like he does this. You know what
Right.
I mean? So, well, that kind of leads me to another question. Are you actively making music all the time, or are you just mainly working
You
as
just come out with the album. You just come out with the album a couple of days ago, right?
Yep. Yeah, just a couple days ago, or last Friday, came out with a new album, which I look like a lawyer on the cover for sure. But yeah, no, I with the new label, when I started Midwest Made, so we started like 4 or 5 months ago. Even though I don't want it to be, a pyramid, I don't want it to be me at the top, and then, I want us all to be equal. I knew that in order to really get the label off the ground and inspire the other artists to pour in just as much as I'm going to pour in, I needed to be pouring out music as well, So yeah, I've been probably recording more than I ever have in my entire career this past year. Huh?
Recording down there?
No, so I do it in spurts. So usually when I fly back home, I'll write when I'm gone. I'll organize it all, have all the beats and whatnot, work with the producers. And then when I go home, I'll just power for like a month or two and just be sitting on, 20, 30 new songs.
So I'm gonna ask you about traveling real quick. Where's your favorite place to travel? You said South America, right?
South America is my favorite so far. I think Lima, Peru, and then a couple cities in Brazil are my favorites.
Now, have you been like to Europe and shit, like to the UK? You said you went to Italy.
Yeah.
You've been.
Yeah, I love those places. Like, to me, like Italy's definitely one of my favorite places to visit, but it's more for the beauty. It's more for vacation, like, right? As far as living, I just really enjoy the lifestyle of South American culture. I love it's vibrant, it's fun, it's a good balance of, party, but then also hard work, and people are super friendly and welcoming, and I love South America. So
See, everything I know about Brazil is that like it's like a shitty place. You know what I mean? But I'd be watching like the
You saw how
UFC.
big it was, though.
Yeah, I'd be watching the UFC, like all the UFC fighters when they talk about it, like, oh, that's a shitty place to grow up, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? They talk about how
Yeah,
bad.
I mean it. Like I'm in Rio right now. In Rio, it's very high crime. Like I went out the other night and had to leave my cell phone and my wallet and just bring one credit card, and because robberies are super high. And I mean, but the thing is I think it teaches you, especially as an American, like when you come to these environments, it's still just it's a big city. It's still, 95% of it is not the crime and not it's just normal people. And they're trying to go about their daily lives in the midst of these hard struggles, and that creates like resilience. That creates such an attitude, right? Like a good positive attitude of like, I'm going to see the best in every situation. And I love that. So like when you go out, people are looking out for you. They got your back. You make friends. No one wants to see anyone walking alone because they know that you'd be targeted. So you make, they're like, hey, come join our group. Come,
Is there a lot of
So I
white
don't know.
people
I
in
just
there?
love the culture. Yeah, I think lately, the past 10 years, the nomad travel community has really exploded. And so you're starting to see a lot of mix everywhere. So like when I'm here, I mean, I meet Americans, I meet Europeans, I meet Canadians, Australians.
I feel like that would be really good for Americans because we are, in a lot of ways, just so oblivious to what's going on everywhere
yeah.
else. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like it'd be good for Americans to go and see like what other people are living like so we can get off our fucking high horse a little bit and be like, we're all just humans.
Well, yes.
Exactly.
A bad situation in most cases.
Have you ever watched you watch the UFC at all or no?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
You know who Chael Sonnen is?
Nope.
Well, you gotta watch Chael Sonnen. He's retired a couple years back.
He's a dog.
But he said that the Brazilians, like he said, they don't have computers, that they be down there trying to feed like carrots to buses and shit. You know what I mean? He said they're fucked up.
Nah, he's exaggerating. He's exaggerating big time. Brazil is beautiful. Brazil, I just walked by an internet cafe earlier, computers everywhere. They have co-working spaces. I'm in a hotel right now that has a big co-working space, a bunch of people working on their laptops and whatnot. And so I think that yes, there's poverty for sure. You see poverty everywhere here, but you also see you see normal life, and you realize like, I don't know, it's just different. Like the poorest people, I mean, I grew up poor and all my friends were super poor. And the poorest of the poor that I've known in America, right? The absolute poverty that I've known in America hasn't been anything near the poverty I've seen in some places in South America. But then at the same time, the richness of life, I think, is richer than America. It's such a weird dichotomy because I come here and I feel like people are living better. And they have less and they're living better than Americans. They're going out more, they're traveling, they have bigger social circles, they're more community oriented, they're close with their families, it's just so vibrant and fun, and I got nothing but good things to say.
That's how it used to be back in the day.
That's how I want to live.
The internet and motherfucking like all our technologies, what really took over and fucked up.
Right. It's fucked
up.
Yeah. I feel like in America, we are just constantly consumed with status. Mm-hmm. And in South America, people are constantly consumed with community.
Family shit. Like that's how I want to live. Yeah, for real.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So obviously traveling is a big hobby of yours. Do you have any other hobbies that you like to participate in?
Yeah, I don't know consistently. I mean, I think for me, travel and music are my main two. I'm a gamer. I like gaming whenever I'm like actually in a place where I can have my Xbox or whatever and actually game. But oh man, I grew up playing Final Fantasy, lots of role-playing games. Got big into Fortnite for a while, got big into Call of Duty, was huge. Halo was huge. I was the kid, connecting, 6 Xboxes screens and getting all my friends together to battle each other.
Yeah. So, your life, obviously, I mean, we didn't really talk about your childhood a lot. When you first started describing it, I kind of got a vibe you didn't really want to go into it. And I don't it's up to you. But the contrast from from what it seems like, what you've explained and how you grew up to where you're at now, like money is not really a huge. I mean, obviously you have to work. You know, what I mean, everybody has
Yeah.
to. But that contrast seems so drastic from what it sounds like you grew up like. So, what is your opinion of your own life, like, and how you've transitioned from there to or from here to here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, it shocks me, you know, it blows my mind all the time. Like, I just was able to, I had a really rough childhood. My mom was a drug addict for almost 30 years. You know, it just caused our family to fall apart. There was no structure, no support, you know. So when I started doing music and had no money and was trying to travel, and I had to figure it out all on my own, you know. And I remember sitting at a gas station one time because I was out of gas. I had $2 in my bank account, and some fans like got together and raised like, you know, $40 so I could fill my tank just to get to the next show, you know. And so I was used to that kind of survival, trying to get my career off the ground. So to look at it now, and you know, like just the other like 3 weeks ago, I took my mom on her first vacation out of the country, and we went to Peru, and I was able to book a penthouse, and you know, with a view overlooking Lima, and just stuff like that was like, is continually mind blowing to me, you know.
I was going to ask your relationship with your mom now. It sounds great. So, was it easy for you to kind of forgive her, you know, her problems she had when you were younger?
I wouldn't say easy, but I think you reach a point where like it's like I've made so many mistakes in my own life. I've hurt a lot of people. I've done all kinds of dirt. And you realize like we all have demons, you know, like, and a lot of times we hurt the very people we love the most, you know. And so I think that that's just wisdom over time. You learn that, and then you start forgiving people. So like for my mom, it wasn't easy because my mom's put me in a lot of really bad situations, but it was like I want my mom to have a good life. I've had a good life. I've had all these amazing experiences, and then I look at her life and I'm like, man, like there's so much out there that you haven't seen any of it. Like you haven't been able to do any of this, and I wanted to be able to give that to her. And I think that's where it started, and then through that it started healing our relationship by us working together and by us like forming a bond again, you know.
That bond came back or
Yeah.
existed?
Are you a big
Yeah.
family? Do you have a big family or no?
No, super small family. I have two younger brothers and my mom, basically. Everyone else is kind of distant. We don't really talk. So I think there was just a lot of like, you know, so every family has drama. I think my family, it wasn't just drama. It was a combination of drama, violence, danger, you know, all kinds of stuff that caused everyone to just kind of go their separate ways, you know.
Yeah, I don't have a big family at all. I got just my brother Robert. That's literally the only actual blood family I got. I got some sisters, but I'm not close to a lot of them. I'm only close to a couple of them, but yeah, like immediate family, I got just my brother. So
Yeah.
so whenever you ain't got family though, shit, you can kind of do whatever you want. I mean, I got my kids, but
Yeah.
How have you existed this long without having children?
uh,
You have children.
you know, here's something that I don't talk about a lot, but I actually gave a child up for adoption when I was young. Like I was sleeping on couches, I didn't have any support structure, and I found out a girl I was dating was pregnant, and just did not know how I was gonna do any of it, and decided to do the adoption route. And that was just super hard, you know. And it was like it's one of those things where even when you come to terms with it, you still have this like pain of like you weren't there, right? And so I think for me, it's like I'll take chances in every other area of my life, and I'll take risks and whatnot. But like having kids was not one of them. I was like, I will have kids when I know I have a stable support system. I'm with someone and we both are like on the exact same page, like we're doing this and we're doing it, you know. So I think that's just for me, but it's based on the fact that I already went through the adoption route, you know.
So, are you in a relationship currently?
I've started talking to someone.
Well, I know I saw
but we're not in a relationship, but
he was traveling with a girl a while back. So that's over? Or is that
yeah, that didn't last long. That was someone I dated for like 2 months. It didn't work out, but yeah, I've had many relationships. I've had that's the thing is like the combination of being in the music industry and then also the nomadic travel life is very, very complicated. So it's like you got to find someone who lives a very similar lifestyle or it just doesn't work. It'll bring out, yeah, to anyone even thinking about dating me, don't do it because it'll bring out every insecurity you possibly have. It's just it's
but
one of
are
those
you
things.
a person that wants a relationship? Like, do you want that, or are you just cool, kind of floating around doing your thing and just like
No, I want a relationship. I think for me, I think both. I'm cool. I'm an embracer. Like when you were talking about hobbies earlier, like I'm the type that like, like if my friends want to go whitewater rafting, I'm like, you would think I'm obsessed with whitewater rafting. I'll get all the gear. I'll do, like I hate hiking, but if my friends want to go hiking, I got backpacks and boots and, I just get into it. And so I'm an embracer of all things. And so it's like, if I haven't met anyone that it makes sense to be in a relationship with, then I embrace my single life, right? If I come across someone where I'm like, wow, that would fit, that would work really well, then I'm tunnel vision and like, how do we do this? How do we build it?
What kind of person are you looking for if you are looking for somebody?
I think it's more of that zest for life, that attitude toward life. I mean, I think that you have people who want to just have a comfortable life. They want, whatever that comes with. And that's fine. For me, my life it's comfortable, but also very uncomfortable. It's always changing. I may live in different places like Brazil. I may stay in places that are not luxury. I may, one day I'll be in a 5-star hotel, and next minute I'll be in a hostel in the middle of Rio, and like I like that. I like the adventure of it. I like that it's always changing. And so I need someone that adapts to that and also loves that.
yeah. That's what I was wondering if that's if what how you're living now is like what you really want. Like you don't want to just like live that life like most people in Brazil are living. Like just
Yeah.
taking it, doing what you gotta do every day, going to bed. You know what I mean? Like hanging out on the back porch, drinking some beers, fucking barbecuing. Like you want to be
Yeah.
doing shit.
I like that too. I mean, I think for me it's that mentality of like there's so many experiences in life and I don't like to box myself into like being like, oh, this is what I enjoy. Because I think I enjoy a little bit of everything. There's many nights that, especially coming from Missouri, we'll have bonfires and drink beers all night. And, I love that too. I'll go to dive bars in my small town that I grew up in. I love that. We'll do shitty karaoke and, so I love everything from that to being on at a resort in Santorini. It's like there's a giant spectrum that I think that yeah, I like finding a balance with all the things.
Right. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
my last question for you. Um, what is your drive? Like what keeps you doing this?
That's a good question. I mean, I think for me, like even though these guys aren't very, in my opinion, very good people, I connect with the entrepreneurial spirits of the guys like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and people who are builders, right? A lot of people will criticize and say they're never satisfied. They'll never be satisfied. I don't mind that, right? Like I feel satisfied, but I'm also constantly wanting to build. I'm a builder at the end of the day. There's builders and there's gatherers, and it's like I want to be out there starting businesses. I want to be investing. I want to be making music. I want to be traveling. I want to be building things with my life. And it's a never-ending thing. There's no real goal, right? It's just to live it is my goal,
Yeah, I think that answer. I relate to that. I'm the kind of guy that wants to always be doing something
Yeah.
new.
Why don't you why don't you get into starting a podcast? Have you thought about doing that?
We've thought about it. Actually, we talked about it a little bit with the Midwest Made stuff. Once we get because we're going to build a headquarters for the label and kind of get back to having a brick and mortar for it. And so we thought about putting a podcast in place.
Well, you should get like a traveling kit for whenever like you're going to these different cities, different countries, and just fucking let people see and know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and then you got connects in the music industry. I'm sure you can reach out, connect to a lot of people. I think you could probably do some really good shit with that.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was my goal starting Moving and Groove and Travel. I think it just I haven't been able to really like find the time to pour into that as much as I wanted to yet. But yeah, I think for me, like right now,
I love shit like that.
Yeah, the traveling stuff. I mean, I kind of pictured like 2 Chain's Most Expensivest show.
Yeah.
Like that kind of show, but for travel, that's kind of what I'm after. So
now I gotta ask you something. What do you do after you're done working and you're just chilling? What kind of shit do you do to chill, relax, just let loose? Like you smoke weed? What do you do? You go out, you fucked up, drink? What do you do?
I mean, I think if I want to let loose, have a night where I let loose, I usually like I probably go out and drink. I usually like going to like rooftop bars and just chilling over the city. And what'd you say?
Solid Midwest shit.
Yeah.
You ever been to Tennessee down in Nashville?
Oh yeah, I love Nashville. Yeah.
Been to Kid Rock Bar?
Which one?
Kid Rock Bar down there on Broadway.
No, I don't think so.
Got to go to that bar, dude. I went down there one night, got fucked up, blacked out, dude.
Dude, Nashville has so many options. There's a place called Losers. It's a bar called Winners and Losers, and I think Winners is during the day, and then they switch to Losers at night. And I went there, and like it's a party for sure. Nashville just has so many places that are just a straight party.
Yeah, I love Nashville. That's where I eventually want to move. I would fucking love to.
Bro, we're moving to Lucasville.
Yeah, you move
to
Lucasville.
Lucasville's a little town up from us. They got the Bottoms. That's where I'm trying to live. They got meth labs. They got the meth labs down there. I'm trying to make a meth lab.
Are you?
Maybe, bro. They seem like they make money.
They do make money, but
I just want to live in a country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be in the country.
Where do you think after you're done with everything, where do you think you're going to reside at? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, dude.
Man, I don't know. I've been talking a lot about this because reside. That's funny.
Normal word for him.
The property here in South America is so, because we're fortunate in America that our dollar is very strong. It's like the property difference. Like I can buy a place here for 1/6 of the price. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I've thought about doing kind of a thing where I live in America part-time, live in South America part-time, but have actual homes in both places, because one, I want to invest in the economies down here. I think as Americans, we're just super fortunate. We don't realize how fortunate until we start traveling, and so I want to play a part in investing at least somewhere else outside of America,
What are some of your investment goals? Like what type of shit are you wanting to do?
I mean, I think for me, it's property is probably the main. I mean, I invest right now. I invest in a lot of different things. So I've been doing investing for many, many years. Most of my investments are future tech. So all kinds of wave charging is one of my big ones right now. All kinds of different technologies that are coming out. I try to invest in as many of those as I can. But property would be the second. But I think America's property right now, I don't even want to touch. I think it's getting too crazy. So I'll probably invest in Peru or Brazil or what was that?
Get real estate?
Yeah. Yeah, Airbnb or just having it for just to sit on, like if I live there part-time, let friends use it if they want to go to Brazil for a while and have a place,
Yeah, buy a place down there. We'll come down there and stay.
Yeah, man. No, seriously, they got some nice places that it's crazy. Like I've looked at penthouses top floor penthouses for like 200,000 US. It's crazy.
So travel though, like flying, like obviously you're not afraid to fly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Be your first time when you got on a plane? Like, were you nervous at all? Like, because I'm afraid to fly.
I was terrified when I first started flying. And my mom actually makes fun of me because I just had a situation not too long ago. It was a few months ago that I was in an emergency landing, and it was crazy. Like our plane, basically they got on the intercom, and the fuel wasn't getting to the engine. Like something was wrong. They weren't getting fuel. Plane was shutting down basically, and so. Yeah, so they scheduled an emergency landing, and we came in hard. I mean, we came in like I don't think the wheels came down all the way because it felt like the plane just hit the runway and skid, and it smelled like the plane was on fire afterward, and there's emergency crews everywhere. It was crazy.
Never get on a plane.
But I've taken so many flights that it's like, I mean, thousands, and I've never had issues. And so surviving that, it was like, like that's the worst it's ever been, and I'm still fine. So now I'm like, I think I'm cured of any fear.
My first time ever flying, I flew from Cincinnati to New York, and I remember
Yeah.
when I took off. I kept my face in my lap, dude, the whole fucking flight. I was so scared, and that motherfucking pilot, the way they fucking landed, I thought we was wrecking. It was like boom, boom, boom. But every one I've been on after that was like a smooth ride. Besides, we was on a jet from Chicago to Kansas, where my brother was living.
Mm-hmm.
And we was on a jet, and where it was so small, we hit turbulence or whatever, dude, and it sounded and looked like the jet was falling apart. And that
Oh no.
it was scary because that was probably the worst fly I've ever had, but we made it.
I've never flown, and I really don't want to, bro. Like
You got to do it. You
I'll
got to do it.
I'll take a fucking boat to another country. I'm cool with the ocean. I mean, I'm flying, right? I'm just terrified of it.
We'll fly eventually.
He keeps telling me we're going.
Yeah.
Because once
You got to go. You got to just pick a country and go do it. For sure.
Whenever we eventually blow up and we got to fly somewhere,
I'll fly from like out of Columbus to Cincinnati.
Yeah, you can't be in the podcast game, especially if you get paid to go do an interview somewhere. Because once you like some of these bigger artists, they're not going to come. They're not going to do this. They're going to be like, here, come out where I'm at in Vegas or wherever and interview me there.
I'm gonna have to do it eventually.
I can't.
Yep.
I'm
not happy about it.
Yeah, I can't wait for that shit. I'm so ready to. So we just got monetized. We're just now getting paid off YouTube, and like we're not making no money. You know what I mean?
No,
it takes a second, but man, once it gets going, YouTube makes some money.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully one day we start making good money because right now your boy's broke.
I feel like this podcast will be fully monetized because we didn't say anything too terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But a lot of our podcasts are just so bad.
All he says is a bunch of racist fucking gay hating shit. You know what I mean? It's hard to fucking get monetized whenever you got someone fucking constantly talking shit about black people, gay people. You know what I mean?
It's really hard to do that. Got somebody constantly.
Yeah, it is.
But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's him. It's him. You've known us for
even my music was gay bashing and black hating.
It was.
Oh no! Now they're banning this video.
But cut that out.
Yeah. Nah. A little bit of it. But listen, Stephen, man, it was nice talking to you. I actually gotta go to the gym. The rest of this year and next year, I'm focused on health and wealth.
Yes, sir.
Got to get my big ass in the gym. I'm tired of people commenting on the video saying I look like Jelly Roll. And I was at
Jam Roll's the funniest shit I ever heard.
I was at a food truck the other day, and some girl said she was out ordering her food, and she was like talking to Elizabeth and Trace and my brother, and she was all like, "We thought that was Jelly Roll, blah blah blah." And so he wanted a picture with me. I said, "I'm not taking no fucking picture with you. I'm not taking no motherfucking picture."
You can't.
Yeah. What? the fake jelly roll, and you're gonna be fucked up. You know what I mean? But
Anything that we didn't cover that you want to cover?
No, you guys did great, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Let's plug your album.
Plug your album, and we're gonna just fucking make it come across.
Yeah.
Do this.
All right.
And
the
then
new album is Coop. It's just simply Coop by Stephen Cooper. And yeah, I like it. Check out the song Fight About It. That's some hard shit. It's really good.
Now is your album out on every single platform?
Yeah, it's out there now. Yeah, it's everywhere. And then I'll be dropping a deluxe version with like 8 more songs on it around Christmas. So
Dope.
Well,
All right,
Steven, thank you for coming on, bro. Have fun down in Brazil.
Sure.
House, invite us down. We'll come stay while you ain't there.
Yeah, you guys gotta come for sure. Rio is waiting for you to take your first flight.
That'd be so fucking lit. Yeah, I'd have fun. But anyways, man, thank you. Have safe travels, have fun, and bag some hoes for me down in Brazil.
For sure.
All right, bro. Be careful.
It's good talking to
All
you.
right, I'll see you guys. Thanks again.
BTE TV.